So we've got our Card Kingdom box. Gonna go ahead and turn to this guy. I'm pretty excited because like I said, I've got 3 different lists that I'm trying to work on right now. So these are the remaining cards I think that I need to fill out those lists. In some cases, I just kind of need 1 or 2 cards, but if I'm going to buy cards, I'll usually buy play sets at a time, especially if they're types of pieces that, you know, I think I'm going to use for other things or use later. It's just kind of nice. And mostly the playlists are about $1. So it's certainly not bad. I've noticed as well on Card Kingdom 2 that a lot of the foils that they offer are also 25 cents. So they're not really any different in price than the non-foil versions. So it's kind of nice to just get foil versions when you can, right? That's certainly something that I've done lately. And then I think I just picked up some other pieces as well that either I thought were interesting or maybe for just kind of for stock. So. But anyway, let's go ahead and jump into this. So, excited to see what we got, and I thought it might be cool to sort of share since this is something I would be doing anyway. Yeah, it might be fun for the stream. So, I'm just gonna check in our cards here and see what we get. Little packing list. All right. Looks like we've got 2 little boxes. These are our cards. Let's set those aside for now. And I also ordered, I noticed that there was some kind of shipping and supply. Well, clearly there's like a supply shortage going on right now, but more specifically for Ultimate Guard, the past couple months, it seems like a lot of their things have been sold out and they haven't been restocked. So I just saw that Card Kingdom got restocks of the Boulder 80 card boxes, which are perfect for Pauper or sort of 60 card constructed formats. And a buddy of mine turned me on to the clear ones, which I think are like just really cool looking. In fact, I could show you. They end up looking really cool compared to some of the other decks because you can kind of just see through them. And so here's like a Cascade Tron deck that I have. So yeah, they ended up looking, they look pretty cool. And so I went ahead and got 3 of them while they were in stock, which is nice. So pretty sure that's what I ordered. Cool. So excited to, as I said, I got 3 new builds. 3 new deck boxes. Makes sense. Let's start looking at some of these cards here. If I'm doing this right, I think I can... Yeah, just pull the cards up while I'm checking them in, so... Big fat stack of cards. Last one doesn't want to come out. Okay. Very graceful. Cool. So, yeah, I mean, we got 2 play sets of Reckless Impulse. This is kind of one that I wanted to brew a little bit with. Kind of seems like a little mini version of Galvanic Relay a little bit, to exile top 2 cards of your library, and until your next turn you can kind of play those. So you can kind of think of it as like exiling 2 cards, or a better way to think about it I think would be like draw 2 cards, but then those 2 cards don't go into your hand. They're like sort of outside of the game, and then you can sort of use them until your next turn. So it's kind of nice, right? It's not really affected by like hand disruption or discard or anything like that, since the cards aren't really in your hand, but I guess they functionally are. That's kind of an interesting thing that you can play for a colorless and a red. And I think red, both red and green, in the past couple sets have had like some pretty good cards thrown their way. So, this might be just an anti-white format now. There's a lot of traditionally blue-black are like your best colors in most formats, but I don't know, red and green looking pretty good these days. I've seen a lot of red and a lot of green decks. So, yeah, maybe we have a four color dominant format. We'll see. Looks like we've got oh, that's right, yeah, this is some land base for a reanimator deck that I'm working on. So these are cool. These are the Crimson Vow islands that they just look really cool. I'm super into these. The new ones are a little bit cheaper than the Midnight Hunt versions, which is kind of where this trend of land started. So I figured, hey, why not pick them up now and, finish out the rest of my deck. So got some islands, which are really cool. One of the new mechanics in this set is sort of day and night. And it's when I first started playing with this mechanic, it wasn't super. I wouldn't say it's difficult, but I mean it's another layer of tracking that I think I wasn't expecting. And so I decided just to get a couple of tokens for day, and on the other side there's sort of a night side as well. To just sleeve up, I usually have like a little stack of some of these like game type tokens like Monarch, and City's Blessing, and just kind of things like that. To just kind of remind me of what the rules are. It's kind of nice to have these sort of just right in a stack close by. You can just pick it up and check it out. And especially if I'm playing, we've been doing a lot of pack wars lately. A buddy of mine, Mongo, we've been playing, and so yeah, these are kind of handy. They're super cheap. I thought it might be cool to just grab some of these tokens and kind of remember when this set came out. Kind of cool. So here's one that I'm also really excited to brew with. I ordered a playset of Blood Fountain. And so these are artifacts for a black. It'll create blood tokens when it ETBs. And a blood token is sort of an artifact with, pay 1, tap it, and discard a card in your hand, as well as sacrifice this artifact to draw a card. So, I mean, you're kind of like doing a lot just to draw a card. But I think that while on the surface this might look like something that, you could easily pass up, it actually does a lot of interesting things. Mainly that it's an artifact itself, and then the blood tokens that it creates are also artifacts. And so there's a second ability here that says, if you sacrifice the Blood Fountain and you pay 4, you can return up to 2 target cards from your graveyard to your hand. So this card has a lot of versatility. I think if you're playing it in sort of like an affinity type shell, it seems like it'd be pretty good if you were leaning heavy black, because it makes 2 more artifacts on the board. So this might actually go really cool in like a black metal deck. I do have a black metal list, and I was thinking of maybe updating that at a certain point, since we did the blue metal lists and red metal. Be cool to do a black one. And this looks like a perfect card for that. Yeah, I think it could be pretty good with Disciple of the Vault, and things kind of go into the graveyard. And just kind of off the top of my head, thinking about, artifact cards in black that you don't normally see too often, something like a Glaze Fiend or a Vault Scourge. Both of those would be really good to sort of return to your hand if, you had to sacrifice them or just sort of trade in combat. So yeah, I don't know. I think Blood Fountain looks pretty cool. I thought I wanted to try it out, so we bought a playset of the fountains. Let's see where we go from there. Here's another one that's kind of interesting. Got a playset of Wedding Invitation. This is another one that I think is kind of interesting too. It's an artifact, 2-drop, so it's definitely affordable. When it ETBs, you get to draw a card, so it replaces itself. Kind of cantrips a bit, which is nice. And then if you sacrifice it, a target creature can't be blocked this turn. If that creature is a vampire, it also gains lifelink. So I don't know. I don't really know the state of vampires in Pauper, other than I don't see it very often. I think people are trying to make Bleak Coven vampires work, and I've seen a couple lists recently that have tried that out. And so yeah, we may have a vampires deck, I think, in the works, which I think would be really cool. I like tribes. But I think regardless of if you're playing vampires or not, this is just kind of an interesting card, right? I mean, you get an artifact on the board, it replaces itself, you get to draw a card, and then you can kind of sack it to make something unblockable. So, maybe you want to swing with if this goes in Affinity, maybe you swing with the Tog and just try to see if you can get damage through before you decide to fling it. I don't know. It doesn't cost anything to sack it and tap it, so once you pay the 2, you're kind of already in as far as the board is concerned. So yeah, it could be interesting. I don't know if this goes in Affinity, but just as an example, that's something that you could do with it. But it's an interesting artifact that I think is pretty well costed and has some kind of versatility. So not too bad. And we ended up picking up the foiled versions for $1 because they were 25 cents each. So why not? Up next, we have a play set of... Oh, I didn't like that one. Let's see if this does better. There we go. Play set of Undying Malice. So, 1 black, instant speed. Till the end of turn, we can give a target creature the ability to, when that creature dies, return it to the battlefield tapped under its owner's control with the +1/+1 counter on it. So this is basically like virtually the same card as what's that card called? Like Supernatural Strength. There's also another one. There's a few cards in the format that do the same ability. So this kind of just makes copies 5 through 8. Or 9 through 12, depending on what kind of a deck you're building, Kind of interesting if you play this in sort of like an Aristocrats black deck, something where you want to sacrifice creatures. Like I could see playing this on a Perilous Mirror or like Serrated Scorpion, sacrificing it, dealing 2 damage, gaining 2 life, and then it comes back in, and then now it's a 2/2, it gets a +1/+1 counter, and you can do it all over again. Like, there's some kind of cool synergy there. So I saw these. Again, it was another matter of buying a playset for $1. So why not? Could be a good card to brew with. I also opted for a playset of Toxic Scorpion, which was a new one that came out in this latest set. I don't think that this card is that impressive. It's a colorless and a green for a 1/1 Death Touch Scorpion. When it ETBs, another creature that you control also gains Death Touch until the end of turn. So I guess you could get a little tricky with that. You certainly can't do it. I mean, I think it'd be different if this creature had Flash, and then you could kind of give a creature Death Touch that didn't have it previously and kind of trick your opponent that way. But I think I just like Death Touch creatures. And I do have a couple decks where I'm running Death Touch as sort of like a concept, or a core mechanic, I should say, of the list. And so, yeah, I see Death Touch and I upvote. It's a simple thing. I like Death Touch creatures, so we got 4 of those guys. They were foils, so they stood out to me. Looks like I also ordered 4 Serpentine Ambush. This one I thought was kind of interesting. This is a colorless and a blue, instant speed. Target creature becomes a blue serpent with base power and toughness 5/5. So, yeah, I don't know exactly like where this goes yet, but I thought it was a really cool piece to potentially build with, especially decks that I guess off the top of my head, I have a list that's a mono blue mill list. I'm not sure where this goes in terms of what it replaces as far as slots are concerned, but I do like the idea of like, turning a 0/4 wall into a 5/5 serpent, when the opponent's like kind of not really expecting it. It's pretty cool. It's a 4-turn clock. If you're running 4 of these to just kind of turn something into a pretty sizable threat. And then, again, we opted for the play set of foils, which is pretty cool. So yeah, I thought those were good to include. Not a lot of thoughts on that one other than I think it could be potentially cool as a building piece. We got 4 copies of Scattered Thoughts. This one I'm kind of excited about. This is an instant for 3 colorless and a blue. We can look at the top 4 cards of our library, and we can put 2 of those into our hand and the rest into our graveyard. So this is perfect for something like Reanimator, where you get to look 4 cards deep, and then the stuff that you want in the graveyard can go to the graveyard. You don't have to discard it, as a secondary kind of a step. And you just get the best of both worlds. You can look at the top 4, put the ones you want in your hand, put the ones you want into your graveyard. So really excited to brew with this guy and maybe update the Dimir Reanimator deck. Maybe we'll play that next week if we can get that online. Might be fun. So if you're just tuning in, we are opening a package that of cards I ordered recently from Card Kingdom, and got a bunch of stuff to work on some decks, and so we're just talking about some cards and doing a little unboxing, I guess. Let's see. I don't remember why I decided to pick up 2 play sets of this Sanctify card. Probably because they were cheap and they were foils. But this one is a sorcery for colorless and a white. Allows us. It kind of has a similar effect to the card that we were playing today, or that was in our sideboard today, which was Natural State. You get to pop an enchantment for 3 or less. In this case, we can pop any artifact or enchantment and gain 3 life, which is cool. But it's at sorcery speed, which is not the best. But I thought it was an interesting piece to just keep in the box in case, I wanted to make something that needed more kind of artifact or enchantment hate, but then at the same time mixed with kind of life gain. So if the meta ever got to a point where it was heavy red and also lots of artifacts, or sort of a red enchantment type of a thing, red heroic maybe would be an example of that. I think Sanctify could be a pretty good sideboard card. I think sorcery speed kind of makes it not that interesting though, but I thought it was interesting enough to just pick up a couple playsets, so that's what we did. Let's see. Oh, okay, yeah, I remember this guy. Let's see, it's not picking it up. There we go. So Kessig Flame Breather, excuse me. Pretty interesting. It's a human shaman for a colorless and a red. So this is whenever you cast a non-creature spell, Kessig Flame Breather deals 1 damage to each opponent. So I think this card's interesting. It's kind of like, it works the same way as the Archer, that deals like a point every time you play a non creature spell or just a spell. It doesn't work the same way as Thermo Alchemist, but it kind of acts as like copies. And so I thought this could be interesting in like a burn shell, maybe where I wanted to run like 8 of those types of cards, which I guess is just burn, but it might be cool to like play with more of a creature based version of that. And I thought that this is probably going to be a staple for a list that comes out that wants to use more of those. I'm forgetting the name right now. which is really bad. Let me see. Firebrand Archer. That's what I was thinking of. Yeah, so you get a 2/1 for the same cost. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, it deals 1 damage to each opponent. And so this is the same, but you get a 1/3 body. It's a little bit more resilient, which I think is maybe what you want. At this point, you're not really... It's like the damage that I think you're netting most times is not going to be from actually swinging with this type of a creature. You're going to want to just have it stay in play and, just exist in order to, trigger off of the spells that you're casting. And so giving it, -1 power and then adding it, a little bit of toughness, I think is probably good. It still doesn't get around Bolt, or Gal Blast, but, a little bit more resilient, kind of like a... maybe like a Seagate Oracle, maybe, or I'm blanking. There's another card that is sort of like that has a similar PT, like a 1/3. It's nice to sort of early game to sort of block with, I think. So those are kind of interesting. I'm gonna place that there. Oh yeah, these are really cool. So I opted to get a foil playset of the new Abrades, because I think the art looks pretty cool on them. Let's see if they can pick it up. And we can't. Okay, so sometimes the foils make it a little bit weird. But like, how cool does that look? It's like destroying, a mask. Sort of like a magical armor kind of a masterpiece. But yeah, I really like the art on this. I think it looks better than the previous version when it came out, and so I wanted to get a playset of these. And I don't think I had any Abrades before, or at least I don't have any available. They're I think all on the sideboards currently of other lists. So yeah, super cool looking. I needed 4 copies of Gnaw to the Bone for a Tortured Existence list that I'm going to be playing a bit around with a bit. Tortured Existence is one of those lists that I never really played much with. And it's just kind of a cool list. Like it works a little differently than I think a lot of other lists do. It's sort of a graveyard based strategy. But yeah, it's something I'm kind of looking forward to. I want to get into that a little bit. And so Gnaw to the Bone is very helpful for kind of like a tool piece for that deck, and so I wanted to get a playset. And we'll probably jump into a lot of these cards that you're going to see. Some of my new lists I'm working on, a lot of these are like filler for those lists. So just the same, I got a playset of the Wicker Bough Elders, also a pretty good staple card for Tortured Existence. Hey, yo, Uncle Bear. What is going on, man? Thanks for joining. Got a little bit of a host going. That's cool. Welcome to the stream. We played, today we played our tournament earlier. We went 3 rounds, starting at 11, and it was actually pretty good. We won 2 of our 3 matches, and we won 2-0, so just super clean. And then 1 match we went 0-2. So the list today was not too bad. I think it's pretty mid-range, but yeah, we ended up doing well. We got a good time. Played with some new players today, which was kind of cool. They were new to the server and the league. And right now I'm opening a box of cards that I ordered from Card Kingdom and just kind of going through and checking my order, seeing what I got, and just talking a little bit about what I bought and why I bought it. So welcome to the stream. Oh yeah, no worries. I was having some stream issues today. A couple times where my audio was cut. I had a really weird audio bug this morning where it changed the microphone setting on my IntelliPan for like my mic channel for no reason whatsoever. I just signed in on my computer and it was just totally tweaked somewhere else, and I didn't catch that right away. So yeah, there's definitely not the best stream today, but I'll go ahead and make some clips, I think, of some important parts, and we'll try again next time, I guess. But anyway, yeah, I picked up some of these Wicker Bow Elders. These are pretty rad. You get like a 4/4. It comes into play with a 1/1 counter, and then if you remove the 1/1 counter, you can destroy an artifact or enchantment. So it kind of has like, you know, that anti-artifact enchantment ability that a lot of the spells have. We even talked about earlier, like Sanctify and Natural State and that kind of stuff. But it's kind of cool. You basically pay 4 for this guy, and he becomes a 3/3 because he has a -1 on it. And then if you remove the 1/1, he'll be a 4/4, and then you get to, like, you know, have an added ability. I think this guy's great for Tortured Existence, where you're in the matchup against, you know, artifacts or enchantments, and you want to keep recurring this ability. And, you know, 4/4 is not too bad either. You know, you can just kind of crush. So this guy seems pretty cool. I'm kind of looking forward to running that in the Tortured Existence deck. And then we're coming towards the end of our first box here. So I got a copy of Tilling Treefolk, also for Tortured Existence. This one's kind of cool. It just, you know, you can get back lands that you had sacrificed. So, yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. It's just sort of like, if you, I like using it with like lands that you cycle to draw away, and then now they're in your graveyard. You can pull them back and either cycle them again, or, you know, just have lands the second time around. So that's a one of in my list. It's sort of like a, yeah, just sort of like a toolboxy thing. Here's an Ash Barrens, I think, that I needed for something. Don't remember what. I've got 4 copies of the Dungeons and Dragons Evolving Wilds, like the D&D set, which, yeah, it's really weird why this is not picking this up. There we go. They look pretty cool. They're kind of like designed to look like the old Dungeons and Dragons, like campaign book, you know. But Evolving Wilds are great, and you can use them in anything, and I kind of like the way that these look. So I picked up the 4, and there will definitely be more of these in future orders, because I just like how they look, and I feel like you always need fetch lands. So, and then I also got some Archaeomancers, and I'm going to actually use these in a newer version of actually both Blue-Black Reanimator as well as a Reality Acid Trip deck that I'm trying to make better. I've iterated on it a few times, and it's just never really gone there, but I want to try again. I do love that deck, and so we're going to use some Archaeomancers for that. So cool, that's our first box. Jump into crack our second box here. Highly recommend Card Kingdom if it's something you haven't used before. You're going to order cards. You can just order singles. Like I said, most of these were $1/4, including the foils. So if you order 4 of them a playset, that's like $1. Super reasonable in prices. Yeah, it's an awesome store, and you know, you're supporting an actual card shop, which is cool. So what are you up to today, Bear? You gonna be streaming later on? Just lost video for some reason. 1 second. Go ahead and get that back. It's been happening all day, man. Crazy. Cool. So I ordered these Visions edition Crypt Rats just because I like the old art. I think they look super cool. I mean, that's a classic card right there. They don't get cooler than that. And these ones specifically are like crazy beat up. You know, the edges are chipped. They're heavily played, and I actually just love that. I think the more beat up the cards look, the better they are. So I was like, always good to run but get a play set of Crypt Rats. And most times Crypt Rats are great sideboard cards, and so yeah, I feel like I always have a need for them. Good to go. Forgot to say I love the logo too. Lighting is rad as heck. Cool. Yeah, thanks, man. Yeah, I did some work on the stream a little bit. Made some optimizations. We got some new sounds, and kind of just moved some things around. Made things pop a little bit. So yeah, we're feeling good. We're feeling better about it. Oh, this is another really good one for this Tortured Existence deck that I'm building right now. This is a card called Sakura Tribe Elder. This card is also known as Steve. Playing as Steve, and so Steve's pretty cool. He's a 1/1, kind of looks like Donatello. He's like a 4-armed like turtle shaman guy. But cool thing about Steve is that he's got this funny ability where he's a 1/1, and then for free you can just sacrifice him at any time, and you can search your library for a basic land card and just put that into play. So it's like a land fetch. But what's cool about him is like I really like playing out of Steve and then just kind of leaving him there and then ramping mana normally. And when an opponent attacks with a creature, I can just block with Steve, and then before damage sacrifice him, go get my land, and the creature's still blocked. So just like things like that are just cool. Steve's a versatile card, and I think great for Tortured Existence, where you're going to try to you want to ramp into lands. Tortured Existence, saw them at Chain back in 2006. Yeah, it does certainly sound like it'd be some hardcore metal band name, right? I'm pretty sure we saw Tortured Existence in 2006 somewhere at Chain Reaction. Oh, I got a little angel token. Cool. Let's see what else we got. So a lot of these are going to be cards for, the Tortured Existence deck that I'm filling out. So I got some Golgari Rot Farms, Super Metal. They're going to give us a blue and a black and a green, sort of the Golgari Karoo type land. And then these are really cool. I noticed I didn't own any of these. So this is a foil play set of Viper's Kiss. It's kind of a rad card. And so you can enchant a creature. It's an aura, and then the creature gets a -1/-1, but its activated abilities can't be activated. So it's just kind of cool to have in a sideboard that you play it on a creature that does is some type of a combo piece, or does something in addition to being a creature, and this just locks it down. It makes it just totally useless. It's pretty cool for 1 black, so we're gonna be running that in the sideboard as well. Nerf Steve. Here's the card I'm talking about. This is the card that makes everything work in that deck. So here's I got 4 copies of Tortured Existence. Since I didn't have a full play set, and I had a white bordered. I don't know. It was really weird. Or maybe it was a gold bordered. I don't remember. But yeah, I wanted some black bordered versions, and so yeah, this card's rad. It's an enchantment for 1 black, and then you can pay 1 black, choose and discard a creature card from your hand, and then you can just swap it with something in your graveyard. So that's kind of the mainstay of this deck is you could play Steve, you could sack Steve, grab a land, you could have another card in your hand, pay 1 black, and then you just discard that creature card, you pull Steve back to your hand, play Steve, sack, get another land, and that's not even what the deck does. That's just kind of an example of what you're using it for. It's pretty wild. So I'm kind of excited to play with some Tortured Existence shenanigans. It's going to be a good time. This is another one that goes in Tortured Existence. The playset of Golgari Brown Scales. These are cool. So they allow you to dredge, which instead of drawing cards, you can just send a bunch of cards from the top of your deck into your graveyard. So a deck like Tortured Existence wants a huge graveyard so that you can just be pulling things in and out. And this card will let you do that. Also, it's a 2/3, which is not too bad in terms of power toughness. And anytime that you anytime that this is put into your hand from your graveyard, you can gain 2 life. So you can imagine, like, if you had like 2 of these, right, and a Tortured Existence out, there's sort of like a loop that you can play where you've got one in the graveyard and one in your hand. You can basically pay 1 black, discard the brown scale and pull brown scale back, gain 2 life, pay another black, discard this brown scale, grab the other one, gain 2 life. So you can kind of like loop that a little bit, which is interesting. I mean, provided it's not infinite, but as long as you have black mana, you can kind of do cool things like that. And I mean, if you loop that 4 times and you just gained 8 life, like you're freaking back in, you know. Can you use all of these cards in a tournament, or do you have to select a certain number? Yeah, so all of these cards are tournament legal for Pauper, which is like just commons only. And the way that it works is you don't have to select a certain number. It's just when you build your deck in sort of the Pauper constructed format, you can use up to 4 cards. So you can't use any more than that unless the card says you can. And there are a couple examples of that. But for the most part, other than just sort of like basic land cards, you can use kind of as many of those as you want. The max that you can kind of play in a deck is 4 cards typically. So I tend to just, when I order cards, I order play sets. I may not use 4 brown scales, I might use 3, but then I have an extra one. And if I ever take that deck apart, I know that I have like a play set that I can like really use if I need a play set somewhere else. So I tend to kind of buy in 4s for that reason. But yeah, other than that, you can kind of make whatever deck you want, as long as you're having a good time, I guess is the trick. So some of these are for a black Reanimator deck, or a Dimir Reanimator deck that I'm making, I should say. So I got old copy of Brainstorm. This is from Ice Age. Black bordered Ice Age cards are just super cool. Definitely old school. And I think this is like the best Brainstorm. Just a cool art. So we got Brainstorm. We got a couple of Gurmags. I even got an old bordered Gurmag, which is kind of or time shifted one, which is kind of cool. This is a giant horrible zombie fish. It's a 5/5, and you can delve cards in order to pay for it. So it's like I think a one of goes well in Tortured Existence, and so that's why I got this guy. And I think these other Gurmags were just extra ones, maybe that I needed for something else. I don't quite remember. Oh, nice. Here's a time shifted version of Stinkweed Imp. This also goes in Tortured Existence. You get a 1/2 flyer, and then when it deals combat damage to a creature, destroy that creature. So it kind of has like a Death Touch ability. And it's got Dredge 5, which is insane. So I can choose not to draw a card. Anytime that I am able to draw a card, I cannot draw it, and instead put the top 5 cards from my deck into my graveyard, which is awesome. That's what you want in this deck. So we want to draw creatures and just discard them and grab the ones from our graveyard that we do want and just ruin our opponent's day. So that's going in Tortured Existence, which is cool. Here's a play set of Grave Scrabbler, also staple in Tortured Existence. I didn't have any of these before. So this is a 2/2. When it enters the battlefield, if its madness cost was paid, you can return a target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. So we can sort of like gain advantage in terms of drawing a creature from our graveyard, since most likely we put it there by using Tortured Existence to sack it. And then the madness is actually kind of cool. So what you can do is you can pay 1 black and then discard Grave Scrabbler to pull something out of your graveyard with Tortured Existence. But because it has madness and you're discarding it, you could pay 2, and then instead of the Grave Scrabbler going to the graveyard to switch with a card, the Grave Scrabbler would just be able to be played. And then because you played it and you paid its madness cost, you can grab another creature out of your graveyard. So essentially, you Tortured Existence to grab something out of your graveyard. You instead play the Scrabbler so that it doesn't go to the graveyard, right? And then its ability says if you paid its madness cost, you get to pull another. So it's like you just played a creature and pulled 2 creatures from your graveyard back into your hand for a total of 3. That's pretty awesome. And I'm sure there's lots of other technical things you can do with this card that I have to sort of like practice with the lines and figure out how it works with this Tortured Existence deck. But I'm pretty excited about it. It's something I've been wanting to brew for a while now, and finally doing it. So we'll get some Tortured Existence decks going pretty soon here. This is another one that's kind of like that, Gorgon Recluse. It's a Gorgon card, but you get a 2/4, and it has that same madness. So you can do that same thing where discard it to the Tortured Existence and then play it instead, and kind of gain a creature, just gaining advantage. And this one's kind of cool. It just says if it becomes blocked or blocks, which is nice, by a non-black creature, you can destroy it. So it also has like a death touch kind of ability. Depending on what the opponent has on their board, this could be a cool toolbox piece to like pull from your graveyard with Tortured Existence, which is why the deck is so cool. You can just have a bunch of creatures that do different things, like, you know, death touch or gaining life or drawing cards or fetching lands, and whatever situation. It's like a situation dictates kind of a thing, right? Whatever you need, that's the card you should be discarding and then trying to pull back with Tortured Existence. So yeah, it's very toolboxy, which I like. We got 4 Commune with the Gods, which is an insane card. You can look at the top 5 cards of your library, and you can put a creature or enchantment from those cards into your hand and then put the rest into your graveyard. So it's like, you know, we can basically use this card to look 5 deep, find a Tortured Existence, put that in our hand, put all of the rest of the stuff in the graveyard, right? And then play Tortured Existence and start using that graveyard we just created with those 5 cards. So it's like, I mean, it's just a card it's a staple. It's made for that list, I think. I'm excited to kind of get into some of those shenanigans. Somebody I was playing with recently on Playaway turned me on to Dragon Wings for this would be for Reanimator. And what's cool about Dragon Wings is it has cycling. So what you can do is pay 2 and then discard this card to the graveyard and then trade it with a card from your deck. So, you know, you can cycle it, draw a card, and it's in your graveyard. But what's cool about it is when a creature with mana cost 6 or more comes into play, which in a Reanimator deck, the stuff that you're reanimating are like all giant creatures, right? Yeah, you can pull in like an Ulamog's Crusher or something like that. When that comes into play, Dragon Wings automatically just comes into play with it and is attached to that creature for no cost. So it comes back out of your graveyard and you can just play it, which is cool. And it just gives your creature flying and evasion. So I think this card's perfect when you pair it up with like Careful Study as a card you want to discard, because you'll be able to get it back later and reuse it. So it's just an all around, I think, better, more consistent draw when you're running blue-black Reanimator. So we got a play set of those, so we can mess with that, test that out a bit. This is another card from Tortured Existence called Fume Spitter. This guy's pretty cool. He's 1 black for a horror creature for 1/1, and then when you sacrifice him, you can just put a permanent -1/-1 counter on something, or at least a creature. So this is kind of cool because you can keep recurring this guy with Tortured Existence. So you know, you can imagine if your opponent has some big creature that you really can't deal with, you know, maybe it's a 5/5. You know, throw a Fume Spitter at it. You can block and then sacrifice, so the guy's creature never gets through, and then now he's a 4/4, and then you pull it back with Tortured Existence, and you do the same thing again, just preventing them from getting through with their creature. And then every time you sack it, it's like then it'll be a 3/3 and then a 2/2. So you're just kind of whittling their creatures down, and that's for the bigger creatures. Normally, if you're playing, you know, against other 1/1s and 2/2s, fairies and that kind of stuff, then these things just straight trade. So I think Fume Spitter is pretty good. You can do a lot for the price, and it kind of works the same way that Steve does with that same ability, where, like I said, you know, you can have a 1/1, you can block and then sacrifice it for its ability, which I think is really strong. So pretty pumped to start using those guys. Oh, nice. So it looks like I got a foil playset of Horror of the Broken Lands, which is another really cool card. I think we'll do one of in Tortured Existence, where it says whenever you cycle or discard another card, it's going to get a +2/+1 until the end of turn. So this is stackable. You can keep doing this, which is pretty wild. It has cycling 1 itself, which is really cool. So you can sort of cycle it early game, draw cards that you need, and then you're going to be pulling this back out of the graveyard with Tortured Existence anyway. And when you do, each time you discard to Tortured Existence, this also triggers. So you can make this potentially like, an 8/7 or a 7/6. Could be a 5/4, or I guess 6/5, I would say. But yeah, it's kind of adds a little morphling aspect, I think, to the list a little bit. Horror of the Broken Lands, the debut album of Tortured Existence. Yeah, dude, I'm telling you, man, this game is like, it's super metal. Yeah, there's some pretty cool ones. And like I said, these are all commons too. Like, this playset, I got a foil playset of these guys. This cost me $1. It's just like, it's great. It's the best format to play. It's so cheap. Hey, Miss Meeseeks in the chat. What is up? Thanks for dropping by. How have you been? How are you doing? We're talking about some cards that I ordered recently. Just kind of hanging out for a bit after the tournament today. My voice is too nice for your speakers. I'm going to break them. Oh no. Well, I certainly don't want to break your speakers. I'm out here to break hearts, not speakers, That's what I'm doing. Yeah. So these are common cards. There's, I guess you could call them epic or legendary, but there's higher rarity cards. There's uncommon, there's rares, and there's mythics. They are very much crazier than these cards. They do a lot more. But those are different formats, whereas Pauper just plays with the common cards, and in doing so, it kind of gives it a different feel. The game is a different feel. Normally in these types of card games, you have this thing where it's kind of like an aspect of the game where it's like you're really just saving up mana, and then you play one of those like rare cards, and it puts your opponent in a spot that like many times they can't get out of. And so think of it like, okay, I got 4 mana and I tapped it and I threw my bomb down and I win the game. And there's a lot of Magic games that kind of go like that, where in Pauper specifically, there's not really any bombs. There's no card that you play that kind of really wins you the game. There's a few that are pretty strong, but for the most part, there's not a lot of bombs in the format. And so what that creates is sort of a format where instead of just racing to get to your bomb and then playing it and winning the game, it's more of like a constant tug of war. So you have to play longer rounds, and you're just trying to play cards that gain you advantage like little by little. You trade a creature, you 2-for-1, that kind of a thing. And so all the matches are kind of like more interactive. They're more hard fought. Things are a little bit slower, and it's nice to be able to like come back, when you're down, because you started drawing better, or you created some situation, where you kind of can gain some advantage. And so I think the format's a lot more fun in that regard, and also it happens to be the cheapest format. So that's what we're out here doing. Smashing commons together. I picked up some of these Thriving More cards. They're kind of interesting. They come in tapped, and they add black or 1 mana of the chosen color. So as they come into play, you can choose any other color. And I think that's kind of interesting. So these are really what turn on like decks if you want to use 3 colors. Because you can draw this card and you can say like, okay, well I have black and I have maybe like a blue source, but maybe your deck runs like red also. You can then play a Thriving More and say, well, I'm going to name red for this one. So then now you can make black red, and then you already have your blue. So these are kind of cool. Those are definitely going to go into Tortured Existence, I think. Magician on a budget, man. That's right. That's the name of the game. And we're coming into these. This is our last card that we ordered, or I should say last cards. They're all the same, but I got 12 copies of the... these are cool. I think you're going to like these. This is the newest Swamp that just came out. It looks black metal as shit. Love it. And the artist, his name is Pig Hands. But I thought these were like just super cool looking. So we're gonna put this into the Tortured Existence shell, I think. Just because they look crazy. Yeah, they look wild. So those were cards. We also ordered a couple of these deck boxes that are kind of cool. These ones recently came back in stock over at Card Kingdom, and they're the cheapest there out of anywhere that I think you can buy them at $6.99 a piece, which is not bad for, in my opinion, what is the highest quality I think case that you can get. But these are pretty cool. This is clear, all clear acrylic, which is nice. Most of the decks that I have are sort of like this color, where it's a little bit more frosted. But these are kind of cool that you can like completely see through. They kind of look more like this when you have cards in them. Yeah, so they're rad, and yeah, they came back in stock. So I figured I got 3 decks I'm working on. I'm just gonna pick these up, and you can use this for kind of like any card game. So like if you play like other games rather than Magic, these are called the Boulder 80 plus cases. They make them in some different sizes depending on like what game you play. Some decks use like 100 cards or whatever. In that case, you can get a bigger size, but I like the 80s. That's perfect. It's close to 75 as I can get, and it just is a nice, really nice, well built case. And you can see it's they kind of just come apart like that. And so you can throw these both down like so. If you're sorting cards, or you want to have like your deck in one card. I mean, there's a lot of uses for them. They're pretty cool, but I think they work really well for decks. A lot of the decks that I use, I've been slowly acquiring these cases when I can get them for cheap. But they just kind of go back together like so, and they snap. And I've never had an issue of any of these like ever opening up and cards going everywhere, so they're pretty well made. So pretty pumped about that. It's cool. Yeah, Pig Hands, I guess, is the here, let's check it out. Yeah, it says Pig Hands. Illustrated by Pig Hands. Now I noticed that in these sets, yeah, it's funny that you say blast speeds and pig squeals ensue, right? So there's an artist, I'm not sure you're familiar with him, but his name's Dan Mumford, and he does a lot of he does all the Black Dahlia album covers. I mean, when you see this guy's art, like you've seen it. In fact, I'll pull one of them up so you can see it. There we go. He has a very distinct style, Dan Mumford does. But he just does all kinds of like pop art stuff. And it's just really funny that these sets that came out are kind of all about like vampires and witches and stuff. Like just super metal. And then they got like actual like metal album artists to like do some of the card art, like for some of the lands and stuff. So I think that's pretty cool. And I'm only taking a guess, but I would assume that's probably where Pig Hands is from, right? Somebody that just does like a lot of metal albums, I guess. So, who has the best pig squeal in all of metal? Ooh, I don't know, man. Pig squeals. I don't know that I listen to just pig squeals, or that's really makes a that much of a mark, but I will suggest that there's a band called Lorna Shore. There's a track they released not too long ago, maybe a few months ago. That's called Into the Hellfire. This guy has some of the craziest vocals that like I've heard in a while. He's like redefining metal vocals. Another one too is there's the latest Cattle Decapitation record. He's doing a lot of really interesting, like he's like squealing and singing at the same time. Like I've never heard that. So yeah, there's definitely some stuff out there right now that's like kind of evolving the sound, you could say. Yeah, I'll send you a video, Miss Musics, if you want to check it out. Yeah, the name of the album is. Actually, you know what? Let me pull that up. It's actually a fantastic album if you feel like death metal. It's pretty good. So this is Cattle Decap. Let's see. Death Atlas. That's the album. Yeah, this is the here we go. That's the album, man. That album's really good. It's pretty heavy, but the vocalist he's doing some crazy stuff that yeah, I haven't really heard a lot of albums that sound or just a lot of vocals that sound like what they're doing on this album in general. And this is kind of the first time I've noticed that they started doing that. So it's cool. It's like a turning point. The other one is Into the Hellfire by Lorna Shore. And this is what their album looks like. Dude, check this track out. I'd love to play it on the stream, but I don't think that would work too well. Yeah, I'll send you a video of like. There's even a video of the lead singer of this band, who's doing it the entire song in like one live take, and it sounds like just as good, if not better, than the actual track that they recorded. Like it's just insane. But there's a lot of reaction videos on the internet of people listening to this song specifically, like people that don't even listen to metal are listening to this song and just kind of reacting to just how intense it is. It's a pretty heavy, intense song. If you're gonna listen to anything, check this one out first. It's pretty wild, man. It's pretty insane. Breakdowns and just it's really heavy. And crazy vocal work, like I said before, like stuff that no other bands are really doing right now. That's for sure. Excited to have new gym tracks. Yeah. I mean, if you're not already, I would throw some Hatebreed on that playlist. That stuff is extra moto. You'll feel like you can do it. You push that last rep. But yeah, there's definitely, at least for me, I don't know, metal. I like to listen to metal when I exercise, when I work out. Like lifting to metal is always good, but I don't mind. I don't know. I feel like I could fall asleep and listen to metal. It doesn't always like amp me up. I'm kind of more focused on what's going on, I think, a lot of times. Wanting to get some new metal playlists as well. Yep. There's a band, I don't know if you've heard of a YouTube, he's a YouTube guitarist, or YouTuber I should say, named Jared Dines. He usually makes a lot of like funny guitar videos. It's pretty cool. Recently, Jared Dines has like teamed up with Howard Jones, the ex-lead singer from Killswitch Engage, and they started a new band. And it just sounds like Killswitch Engage, but like with some interesting guitar work, kind of like Killswitch, but like with a little bit more kind of like tech type prog stuff, just a hair, but basically kind of sounds like old Killswitch. And it's just kind of funny to see like somebody on YouTube that has just become so talented, and then now is just like in a band with like, you know, somebody that I remember, you know, grew up listening to. Yeah, just wild stuff. I'll have to share. I'll share these videos to you so you can check them out. Like again, I don't think I should play them on the stream, but I would love to be able to do like a metal stream. That'd be really cool. And maybe I can figure out how that works. Maybe do like a reaction. Because there's just like so much stuff that is like out that we could talk about. Just cool metal bands and that kind of stuff. So, but yeah, we can definitely get that playlist populated, right? For sure. Yeah. I wonder how that would work, right? Because there'd be all these really talented metal bands, and you'd be like, "Hey, you know, can we get a partnership going?" They're like, "Yeah, cool. What do you do?" And I go, "Yeah, I just talk about you, and you guys do all the cool music, and I just talk about it." I don't know if they would want to take me up on that offer. Doesn't seem like I'm doing much, but I don't know. Now that I'm thinking about it, it would be cool to have like a metal podcast or something that we just talk about newer bands or just stuff that's up and coming, and maybe bring light to some stuff that people haven't heard of yet. I mean, that certainly sounds cool. I'd be into that. Or just music in general. You know, I like other genres than metal, but I listen to all kinds of stuff. But it sounds like it would be pretty fun. Yeah, I do enjoy music. Met someone one time where I was like, "Oh, hey man, what kind of bands you listen to? What kind of music you into?" And they're just like, "Yeah, I don't really listen to music." And that just seemed so weird to me. It's just like, how? You know, different strokes, but oh, getting permission from bands, yeah, to use their music on the stream, yeah. You know what's kind of cool that you can do nowadays is there's a lot of music that's being created procedurally. That comes from like bots, where you feed it, you know, music. You just feed it several hours of music of the type of genre you want. It'll just actually automatically make the music procedurally, which is cool. And most of that stuff that you find, it's a thing I've noticed in the last year that's been popping. And a lot of people will put YouTube videos up, and a lot of that stuff is sort of royalty free because it's not an actual band, or it's not like a piece of art someone's trying to sell or anything like that. And you could get permission pretty easily, I think, working with that. Clarinet and drop D, hell yeah. Actually, no, you know what's even heavier? I've been playing guitar in drop C, dude. That's the way. Yeah, we need some clarinets, some flutes, some oboes, all in drop C. C minor, dude. It's the most metal chord ever. But yeah, like I said, it was a pretty good day. We got some presents in the mail. We unwrapped some cards. We talked about some cards. We played some rounds. We listened to some music. It was all good. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, definitely stop by. We play every Sunday at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard to about 2 or so. It's only a couple hours. We play 3 rounds. So I'm actually excited to announce as well that I'm starting up my own sort of online magic store. And I'll have some more details on this, I think, later, because it's going to take me a while to kind of get everything inventoried. But basically what's happening is I found a way. So I have like cards that I've collected over the years when I used to play other formats. And these days I'm kind of just not really interested in playing Magic other than like Pauper, like common stuff. I do still play old school. I do have all those like kind of older cards in a set that I'm collecting as well, trying to finish that collection. But for the most part, unless it's Pauper or you know, at times old school, I have no use for any of my cards. And I just have like so many over the years, like thousands of cards. So I recently downloaded an app on my phone, which is like really cool. called Hell Vault. This is actually a couple months ago now, but I managed to take all the cards that are like rares or just anything not common, and I priced it out. It's cool. You can use a card scanner to sort of scan your cards in, and I priced it out, and it was like something like $7,000 that I'm sitting on top of that I'm just not doing anything with. So what I thought to do was just try to sell all my cards, to a card shop, and then essentially what would happen there is they would look at everything that I have, and it would tell me like, okay, well, I'll give you like 60% or maybe even 50%. And then so I could probably see like a $4,000 return on that, maybe $3,500. But I'd lose a lot of that value just to kind of get the sale over with, and then they would just bulk buy my collection. And so I was thinking that could be a route to go for a while, but then I was turned on to this new website, which is actually really cool, called Cardsphere. That is super cool. It's basically like just a site that you can. Let me pull up the browser here. I'll show you. So Cardsphere has a reverse push system, is what they call it, when you sell cards. And so how it works is you basically list all the cards that you own. So I started working on this last night. I was taking some rares from a stack that I had, and I was just inputting them. And I, input like what the card's name is, what set it's from, the condition. So this one's a near mint, if it's foil or non-foil. And then it kind of tells you what it's worth. So like this card's worth 39 cents. A bone side sliver that I checked in is $7.43. Some cards are $19, $20, and that's per card. Some of these cards I have multiple copies, so I have like 2 cursed totems at $9.29, right? And these aren't even like the expensive cards. I have lands that are worth just like $300, $400 just by themselves, and I have like multiple copies. So the idea is once you have all these cards checked in on your inventory for your store, other people that are looking for those cards can basically see what you're what you have available. And so the way that it works is anytime that a card that somebody puts on their wants list is something that I have, I get notified when these are set to active. And so I'll look at it, and the person sets the price that they want to pay. So they may say like, okay, for a Gale Rider sliver, that's $9.29. I want to pay like 90%. And so as soon as I basically get to see all those offers, and so if I look at that and I go, yeah, I'll take 90% for like a near mint card, because you have to consider that when you buy or trade cards to a shop, you're getting like 50%. So if you accept like 80%, that's really technically 100%, right? Because you wouldn't really be able to sell the card otherwise, unless maybe you were on eBay or something. But that kind of thing takes a long time, and there's a bunch of fees, and you don't really have to deal with any of that with this sort of service. So it's kind of nice. Like people can, what I'm going to do is list all the cards that I have first, and then I'm going to open it up. And so I'll just start receiving like, notifications that, hey, this person's looking for this card that you have, and they're willing to pay this price. And then if I agree with that price, basically what I do is I just ship that card out to that person. I click on their profile, it'll give me their address. I just ship the card to them. And then what happens is as soon as that person receives the card, and on their end, they select, hey, I got the card, everything's good to go, then this website, Cardsphere, will just put money into my account. So what's nice is, in this way, rather than selling my whole collection as fast as possible and then getting, not great value for what I have, I could just kind of slowly trade cards that I don't need for maybe stuff that I do need, and kind of fill out some of my old school collection that I'm working on, or any of the Pauper stuff that comes out. So this is going to be a really cool thing once I get everything set up to, just basically have like a little card exchange sort of program. And it's kind of cool. There's some stats on here too. It kind of works like more of a business type of site, right? Like you can see there's 37,000 users on this platform. They each have their own sort of inventory and stores. And it looks like 2.2 million items worth. Wow. 6.5 million traded of all time. So $6.5 million has gone through this site just in Magic cards alone. And it kind of says here, like, here are the number of trades from $0 to $1 as far as like card prices are concerned. And then cards that are from $1 to $5. It's 2,400 trades just in the last 7 days. And you can see like some of the expensive stuff. So like cards that are $50 or above, those were traded 44 times just in the last week. And there's been 155 trades, 25 to 50. So it's kind of cool to like look at that. And then, you can look at, if you care, I'm not super concerned with this, but it's kind of cool information. Like you can say like of the last 30 days, look, somebody traded a Volcanic Island. That's a $565 card from, the original set, unlimited. Or actually, this is a revised version. So yeah, somebody traded that in the last 30 days. A Mox Diamond, Underground Sea. Yeah, it's crazy. So yeah, it's a pretty good idea. So I just felt like, why not start up a little store of my own? And really, it's kind of, the way I look at it is I'm after common cards and I'm selling rares. So it's not like I'm going the other way, right? Where I'm trying to sell all my commons and obtain rares. It's like, yeah, so's everybody. But because of the format that I'm into, it's like, it's really everyone else's gain because I have a lot of cards that I just don't care about and they're all really good, like rare cards. And so, I just don't happen to have any use for them. So best that they go to somebody that can use them, I guess, But I think I'm gonna probably end the stream here for today. We kind of did a lot, going it's about almost a little over 4.5 hours. I got to do some edits, got to cut some clips, and really got to get some food. I think at this point, I'm pretty hungry this morning. I just kind of woke up and started playing, so I think lunch would be pretty good. But yeah, I gotta go eat, man. I gotta build these tiny muscles, But just want to shout out everyone that dropped by today and checked out the stream. Very cool of you. Thanks for hanging out. I had some wins today. It was a good time. It was a fun Sunday. We'll be back next Sunday with something new. Like I said, I'm working on 3 new decks, and so we'll have something different for next time. And we'll see as far as we can get. And big shout outs to Uncle Bear in the chat with the host. Appreciate that. Miss Meeseeks. Super fun as always. And which we all got to get together soon. Let's do that. Let's go eat some Philly cheesesteaks. That's what I'm saying. Sounds amazing right now. But thanks again, everyone. I think we'll catch you next week. And until next time, keep it totally brutal.